Good morning, everyone. It's Friday Morning Live. Super excited to be here. As you can see, it's just me rocking the mic or the camera with you this morning. And so we're just going to let a few people jump in here as we get going. It's just after 6:30 here. I think a lot of you, it's going to be 7:30. Ooh, hopefully my voice holds out here. I got my morning hot lemon tea. Or sorry, yeah, it's just lemon. Fresh squeeze of lemon in hot water. It's my new favorite thing to order at a restaurant. So at restaurants, I always felt like I always had to order some kind of drink, and when I didn't, I felt like cheap, or like the waitress or waiter was like judging me. And I'm like, because I always order water because that's all I really want. And it's funny that it was funny that because I started ordering lemon water, and then I was like, that just doesn't do it. So I was like, what if I ordered hot lemon water? That was actually Lindsay's recommendation. So if you guys are checking out the show as a replay, let me know. Just type in replay in the comments. I'm going to share this show in a couple different places as we get going here. I'm probably going to be on here for about a half hour, 45 minutes, a little bit shorter than usual. We'll see who comes on in and joins me. I'm going to tell you about a bit of my morning routine, and we're going to talk about change and how change is actually a good thing, even though we don't like change. But it's definitely a good thing in our lives. So that's what we have going on. If you guys have any questions or comments as we roll through the show, please feel free to ask in the comments. I see there's a few people in here right now. If anyone wants to say hi and let me know where you're watching from, it's always cool to see or to know where people are watching from. I'm in Redondo Beach right now, and everyone thinks it's like springtime or summertime, but it's not. It's a bit cool out there. Different cool, like different Canadian cool. It's not exactly the same as Alberta cool, now is it? But yeah, I'm excited to jump on here. It's Friday morning, and this is what we do. Friday morning, we try to stick to our schedule and make things happen regardless of what's happening in our lives. So I want to tell you about a couple things that I have going on. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just sharing the show in a couple places. So, all right. So I want to tell you about Radical Acceptance. This is a new book that I'm going to start reading. I have read it before, and it's a really cool book. If I'd start the show off with a book recommendation. Radical Acceptance, Embracing Your Life with the Heart of a Buddha. And it's by Tara Brach. And I think that, like, I really think that books find you. For me, for example, I'm always like, go, go, go. I need to take some time to relax a bit. And I do morning meditation, but I think that I'm still like 100% go. And the only books I've been reading lately is business books. So it's kind of funny that I was asking for around the community for some books because I like books. And someone dropped off a bag of books, and this was one of the books in there. And I remember reading this book, and it was just like, profound for me. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I came across this book. It seemed like a perfect time. And then this was probably a year or two ago, and I was like, what a great book. And I recommended it that time I was reading it. And of course, I'm going to recommend it at this time because I'm going to start reading it again. And I just think it's a really cool book. Like, it talks about basically accepting yourself where you are in life. And I think that's such a big challenge for us because there's so many things like we compare ourselves to. I just did a video. I like to do entrepreneur videos. So I did an entrepreneur video, and I talked about comparing ourselves to other people. So there was some individual I came across, and they were like, I can't believe I just got, what did she say? 20,000 followers. This is on TikTok, actually. She got 20,000 followers. I'm so excited. And then you look at her account, and it only has 18,000, which is still pretty good, I think. So, but maybe she's comparing herself to someone else, so she feels like she has to say 20 or more. But then everyone in the comments was like, they can see, they're like, oh, you're only at 18, or you can't, like, of course, some of those places are negative communities. So um, they're like, can't you count, or you're not at 20,000. And then all her response was like LOL or haha, or was rounding up. It was like there was no like accountability to like you're lying, like it's a lie and everyone can see it. It was like the only reason she put that up is for to get comments, probably because that helps with the algorithms. That's probably why her video popped up in my newsfeed. So I think it's important, like for that one, like that one in particular. I was like, I don't know, like I think you have to build credibility when you're building your business, and that's not exactly building credibility. And so that was something that stood out to me. But then for us, like we compare ourselves to other people, but we don't know what's real. Like we don't know what's real in people's lives, and we don't know what is actually happening behind the scenes. Like obviously well, I guess my story isn't completely over. Um, I'm just sharing this on our Complete Truth Protein page. Oops. So if you guys are a group, Complete Truth Protein group, so if you guys aren't in our Complete Truth Protein group and you want like nutrition specific, those are like mostly we just put up recipes in that group. We put up info about our Complete Truth Protein product and a lot of nutrition stuff. You can let me know in the comments and I'll go and I can add you, or you can add yourself. I can drop that link. But what I was saying is that so the rest of that story is that she, like a week later or something, I don't know, like of course her stuff popped up in my feed again, and a week later she had 30,000 views, and I was like in a week you're not gonna get organically, you're not gonna get 10,000 more people following you. So there's a couple things that happened. She either paid for like she put a ton of money into paying for followers, which is fine, but I don't think you can do that in a short amount of time. And the other aspect of that is they're probably not real followers. So there's a lot of shady things you can do to make your page look like there's more people following you that actually is. So it was just maybe a bit eye opening to me to be like we compare. So those of us that have pages, we like everyone in business, they count their likes and they count their followers and they see who's like paying attention. Of course, it means a lot to us. That's why we always try to portray that to you guys, is that we put up a lot of time and effort into our content. So when people share something that like makes us feel good, but when you're comparing yourself to someone else and it's like you don't know if it's like fabricated, for example, or like completely made up or 100% a lie. We recently came across a couple people in our lives that just 100% lie. Like I'm sure one person was a pathological liar, and then there's another person that was like just about every other thing that came out of their mouth wasn't true in some regard. So like, and it's like this is the first time that's really happened in our lives, and we're like, there's really people out there like that. Which sounds funny, of course, because we know people lie, but to what extent? It's crazy. Like we don't realize it, and I think we're trusting people. Most people are trusting in any regard. Like we just feel the need naturally to trust one another, I think. And then you've run into people that just completely lie, and it's a bit crazy to me. So at any rate, that was what I'm getting at with we're comparing ourselves to people. That's probably probably the worst thing that we can do. But one of the things that we all do on some level, just some people are they do it a bit more than others. So I just think it's kind of funny that like we're looking at other people and we have no idea how they got there, or even if they got there, or if it's real. So that message is to not compare yourself to other people. Thanks for the thumbs up, whoever that is, or maybe that's a few of you. I appreciate that. we enjoy hearts. We haven't got any comments yet, have we? Let's see what we have. Or maybe my comments thing isn't pulled up. my comments thing is pulled up. There's no one just left a comment yet. That's why I was like, my comment thing isn't working. So if you guys are hanging out with me, let me know. It's always nice to know that I'm not sitting here talking to myself. But this is my book. I know a lot of people love books, so this is. Oh, we just got a couple popped up in here. Hey, what's up, Dave? Oh, Dave's in here. Dave recently let me borrow his truck. Thanks for that, Dave. It definitely helped me out for a couple days there. And then Carrie's in. Morning, Carrie. Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me know you're here and hanging out. So this was my book recommendation. It's called Radical Acceptance, and I'm actually looking forward to jumping into it. Like I said, I was just focusing on business books, and I was like, man, I got to take a step back, and I think it's important to appreciate the things that you have instead of always looking for things that you want. So if you guys have any book recommendations, or if you want to let me know what your favorite book is, let me know in the comments, because I love books. So I asked, we have this app called Nextdoor app, and you can, like, it's in the community, like people are in the community and you can talk to one another, and they only let you, I guess they only let you in with your address. You actually have to verify your address, which is pretty cool, I think, because you can't just join from all over the place. You have to join from your actual community. And so I asked for some books. I was like, hey, does anyone have any books? Because I think that books are so valuable. I love books. Like, there's a library right here that I'm super grateful for. I get books all the time. I got books always surrounding me. There's books all over the place. And so I asked on this Nextdoor app, because people throw books away, or they don't use books, or like I feel like books are so valuable. They're probably, I don't know how I can say it. At least to me, they're probably the most undervalued is it a commodity? I don't know. The most undervalued thing I could think of is books, because most people like have no consideration for them. Unfortunately, I'm not talking about you guys specifically, my viewers. I'm just talking about like anyone in particular. Like, we just don't value books. And I said that, I wrote that post in like on my personal page, and people are like, I value books. Like they took it personally, right? They're like, I value books, or like all my friends value books, and like we don't value books. We just don't. Like, we have books on, like you can put books on Amazon, for example. Like, we can't sell our books for any more than a couple dollars on Amazon, just because there's millions of authors now, which is great. Like, anyone can be an author. That's fantastic. But I think that there's so little, how can I say? There's so little value. Like, we put so little value on books. So if something's worth like a couple bucks, then we feel like it's probably not that valuable, even though this free book will change your life without question. And so I asked, so I know that there's tons of books all around, and people just throw books away or don't use them, or use them as like a nightstand table, or to even out your table. And so at any rate, I said, hey, does anyone have any books they're not using? And someone said, yeah, I got a whole bunch of books. Would you like me to drop them off? And I'm like, yeah, sure, that'd be great. Like, I was prepared to go and pick them up. And she's like, no, I'll drop them off. I'd like to get rid of them. She brought over 4 big boxes of books, like big boxes of books. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, what am I going to do with all these books? So I haven't even gotten to them. And then I had someone else was like, hey, you want to come and pick up some books? And that was, I think they had another few boxes, and then someone else dropped over. So I have, like, I don't even know. Like, you don't know if you'd believe me if I told you I probably have 100 books in here. And it was just some people like, I don't want these books. Like, take them, get them out of my life. So I think that, like, we have so much, I feel there's so much value in books, but we don't put much value on them. So let me see what Dave got to say. Thanks for the comment, Dave. Appreciate it. I'm not sitting here by myself. Value on books has been diluted, yeah, without question. Except for college textbooks. That's Monopoly. College textbooks are crazy. I don't even know, yeah, 100% did. Like, books have been diluted, like, because anyone can write a book, which is fine. Everyone should be able to write a book, but there's so many books. I had a box of books, of brand new books that publishers will send me books for my show, Exploring Mind and Body, my radio show. They'll send me books, and then they'll say, "Will you review this book and see if you want to bring this guest on for an interview?" I'm like, "Oh, sure." So people are sending me books, and I had dozens of, excuse me, I had dozens of books over the years, and I kept some, I read some, I gave some away as gifts. We do prizes with them sometimes, but I had these books left over, so I brought them to the library, and I was like, "Hey, do you want, the brand new books? Some of them have never been opened or read. I know I should read them, right? Sometimes I flip through them, but many times they give me publicists give me like a one sheeter, so I don't actually have to read the book. And I actually don't love knowing too much about the guest, because I want to have a perspective of everyone else who's never met the guest before and is like asking all these like interesting questions, because I don't know. If you already know, I feel like I don't ask the questions that I already know about the guest. That's how I do it. Everyone's a bit different. So I had all these books. I brought them to the library, and the library, I must have had like 20 books in there, and the library took like 2 of them and was like, "Can you come back and get these?" And I'm like, "Your library, these are new books. They're nice books." But I don't know. Like, I don't know what their criteria was. I don't know why they didn't want them. But I'm like, if a library is turning away books, and I understand, like, there's a lot of people getting rid of books or donating books, and then there's only so much space. Like, there's only so much space on the shelves. I think that one of the libraries in the community like really wish they had a bigger library so they could have more books. But of course, then maybe taxpayers have to pay that. I don't know all the details, but I was just shocked. Like, I had all these brand new books, and then I even like put on social media like, "Hey, if you want to come by the house and grab some books, you're welcome to." Maybe like a couple people came by and grabbed some books. So, and like we know that like books are just undervalued, and I feel like books can really change your life. Maybe I have a skewed perception because I'm an author. I'm working on my 4th book right now, so maybe I have a different perspective. But I think if like someone that didn't, I think if everyone wrote a book and realized how much time and effort you put into it, I think the value of books would go up and people would appreciate them more. I mean, Dave talking about college. I don't even know how college books work. Like, I think colleges, like, I don't even know, the book companies work with the universities, because we had to buy new books every year, even if the content wasn't much different. All they slapped on the front of it was new edition or edition 6. So we had to buy these new books, and it cost hundreds of dollars, like a ridiculous amount of money. And then you couldn't sell the books back, or you couldn't use the books again, because next year they were coming out with another one. So that's what Dave's talking about. We went to college together. And then, so the bookstores, the used bookstore would give you like $5 for an $80 book. And you're like, what? Like, why am I giving, like, what are you going to do with it? Why do you want it for $5? Because they'll take it and they'll resell it for $70, but then you can't use it in your class. So anyways, that's probably a completely different subject. Morning, Vanda. Nice to see you back on here, Vanda. Always happy to see that bright, smiley face and that very cool picture of you wearing your Complete Truth Protein shirt. Awesome profile picture. So that's what I'm talking about with books. Like, and I just think it's funny how like offended people get. Like, doesn't matter what you say or how you say it. We could get offended. We could get offended by just about anything. But I'm on the book side, people. Like, I want books to be more valued. And people were like, "How could you say that? Books are very valuable." And I'm like, I wish they were. Sean's in here too. What's up, Sean? Thanks for joining. Sean's a realtor in Sussex area, New Brunswick, and we know Sean actually showed us some properties, and very cool. Nice to see some of you guys in here. I think I shared the show on a number of different pages. I'm trying to think if I missed any pages, but anyways, I want to talk about change today because I think change is a good thing, and I also think that change is something that we avoid in many different regards. Like Vanda said, "Thanks, Drew. I love my shirt. You might have that shirt for a while. We might have to get you a new shirt, Vanda. The way you're rocking it, we'd be happy to send you some shirts." Okay, so I want to mention real quick. So change, for example, like as humans, we are. Okay, one more comment here. I'm gonna get into it. I promise. I just want to finish. Let me finish off with this topic. Dave says they're valuable, but almost just single use. Not too many books I read more than once. That's a good point. Yeah, I have a few books, like a few business books that I'll read. I have a one book. Like I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan, and he writes these really thick books. I have a little bookshelf in the other room, and I'll read like a couple. He interviewed some of the world's top experts in different areas, and I just got up, and I feel like I'm losing my voice. I didn't just get up. I got up at 4. I've been getting up at 4 a.m. again. I wasn't through our travels because we're in different time zones every time I woke up. But for the last week, I've been getting up at 4 a.m. and I love it. I feel so much better throughout the day. I'm in bed by like 8 though, and most people are like, I can't handle getting up at or going to bed at 8 or 8:30. But it works for me. It doesn't work for everyone. But books, for example, like I have a few books that I've read a few times. So The One Thing is a big one for me. Essentialism is a book that I really like. I've read multiple times. And then this book called Tools of the Titans. And Tim Ferriss interviewed the top most successful people in different areas of the world. So I'll go and flip through, and I'll just randomly pick a section. I'll read a couple pages on someone that's been ultra successful. And those books I read over again. But yeah, unfortunately, people don't read books multiple times in most cases. But you could like give your book away to a friend, or yeah, I don't know what you can do. I always wanted like a huge bookshelf in my house, but it doesn't really fit our minimalistic lifestyle. And I mean, in many cases, you have a book there, like Dave's saying, and you're never going to open it again. So what's the point of having it other than I think it looked cool to have a giant library of books. I often give books away because I have so many of them, or I give them, like, if they're brand new, I might give them away as a gift, or we might give them away as a prize. But at any rate, so when it comes to change, like as humans, we're creatures of habit, and you guys may have heard me talk about this before, but we sit in the same chair at the breakfast table, for example. When you drive to work, you drive the same way, even though there's probably 3 or 4 different ways you could drive, or 3 or 4 different side streets you could take, for example. We sleep on the same side of the bed. Like, who says you have to sleep on the same side of the bed every night? Like, you can switch it. Like, maybe you have a spouse. Like, hey, you want to switch it up tonight? No, it just doesn't feel right because we're creatures of habit. We do things repetitively, and we don't even know it. When you drive to the grocery store, you drive the same way. Like, you can park in many cases if you don't have your name on your stall. You can park wherever you want in the parking lot, but we park. If someone didn't steal our spot, we park in the exact same spot, or at least in the same area, which is funny. We went to this conference in downtown LA, and it was a 2-day conference, and I thought to myself, so I parked in one spot the first day, and then I went back the next day, and I thought to myself, I'm going to park somewhere different. But in my mind, I was like looking for that exact same spot. I'm going to go park there. And for whatever reason, it's natural. I don't know, I don't know, like, the brain or, like, mentally why we do things out of habit. Maybe it has something to do with, like, primal brain or something like that. I don't know. But I do know that if we could change so these are just regular habits, and then we have unhealthy habits. So maybe you have a cigarette after you eat your dinner meal, for example. Maybe as soon as you get home from work, you crack a beer, whatever it is. And I think that if we could change our unhealthy habits into healthy habits, we would be much more successful, whatever it is in our life. So it's important to understand that we are creatures of habit, and that we don't like change. So change makes us feel very uncomfortable. We went to this course, and we studied people for our business, so we could relate to our customers and clients and people in our lives. But we realized that our friendships became better, our personal relationships became better, and we had a better understanding of how people worked. So one of them, and I think some of you would have taken these courses, like I know Dave, for example, he gets training through his work, which would be awesome. I would love that. But a lot of my friends lived in the corporate world for their whole lives, and they went to sales training, and they went to did these personality tests and training. This is the first time I did anything like this, and it was really cool to see how different people work and one of them was a B, or they called them a blueprint, and then they're very structured type of individuals. And I think we did a whole morning show about it, but they're very structured and they need that structure in their life. But there's 4 different categories, but each category, everyone was a little bit of each color, 4 different colors. And I think that in many cases, we are part of that B, or part of that blueprint, because we like a bit of structure when it comes to like creating habits or healthy habits, or sitting in that same chair all the time, or we sit on the same side of the couch. Like, go ahead and sit wherever you want on the couch. No, you go back to the exact same spot. So for us, I think it's important to understand that we like that things to be consistent. But I want to argue today that it's a good thing to make a change in your life. Good morning, Sue. Thanks for joining me this morning on Friday Morning Live. Always nice to see you guys in here. Thank you so much. If you're enjoying the show, hit that hearts button. We have a whopping 12 so far. But regardless, I'd appreciate you guys coming in. If you're in here and you haven't said anything, let me know who's in here watching the show with me. So when it comes to nutrition, for example, like if we could look at, I'll go through a few different categories, but when it comes to nutrition, for example, I've worked with people that had the same meal or the same breakfast every single morning for years. So what's for breakfast? I have 2 pieces of toast, 2 eggs, and then I think that's it. They put their butter on their toast. They have their eggs sunny side up, or however it is. Eggs are cooked the exact same way. Toast is buttered the same way. They put the exact same stuff on their bread. And for me, like, I'm not going to say anything about like what you have, but what I'm going to comment on is how our body stays the same. So I talked to this individual and I said that if you don't change what you're doing, your body won't adapt to anything. So if you eat, hey Jennifer, morning Jennifer, thanks for joining me. So, excuse me. Okay, so if you don't make a change, your body won't adapt to anything. So it's the same thing like our body, like we all have different body types naturally. So even if we don't, but we become that way. For example, like if you're not eating very often, like if you're overweight, for example, usually you're not eating very often enough. And most people feel it's the opposite. So if you see someone that's overweight, for example, then you can look at that person and most people would say, oh, they probably eat too much. That's not the case. 9.9 times out of 10, they have a really slow metabolism and they're not eating enough throughout the day. So that's one thing that we can look at, but that's become their normal. So if you continue to do that, like with nutrition, for example, if you continue, that individual has maybe, like most people don't have breakfast. And so maybe they have a late lunch or an early lunch, for example, like 11, 12 o'clock lunch, and then they don't eat again till then they don't eat again till like 6 or 7 at night, or 5 or 6 at night. That's 2 meals a day. Your metabolism is at a screeching halt. That's why we struggle with energy. You don't have a lot of energy. You don't have that mental clarity, and it's difficult to get through the day. And someone might argue that, oh, actually, my energy is fine, and my mental clarity is perfect. I don't have any issues. But I would argue that individual doesn't know what it's like to have the energy of eating more frequently, or that how food can actually clear your mind and make you feel better. Like for me, I'm one of those people that get hangry. Like I get a little bit tired. I might have I might have like low blood sugar levels. I need some food in my life. I'm like a little bit angry, ornery. So of course Dorothy calls it hangry, but I need to have food on a regular basis because it makes me feel good. I can think clearer. I'm happier. I'm more excited because food gives us energy. We were supposed to have food in our lives. I mean, when we started to eat, like when we were eating, it was for energy. Like we had to have energy to work on the farm, or like we had to have energy to plant the crops. Like that was our past. That was our history. It wasn't sitting in front of a computer. That's why we have so many issues now, is because our bodies like haven't adapted. They're not used to being in front of a computer. Like we've had thousands of years of hunting and gathering, and now it's like we want to go back. Like we still have those like animal instincts of like fight or flight, And now all we have is like sitting in front of a computer, and we can't figure out like why we're stressed out and why everyone has glasses, for example, and why everyone's on medication. Like it's all a cycle and a circle. So but that becomes a person's normal. If you don't change that, you're not going to get any changes in your life. Dave says, I forget to eat. So I told you Dave and I went to college together, university. I think both. At any rate, we went to a couple different schools together, I think. And anyways, it would be at like 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And he's like, I don't think I ate today. I think I forgot to eat. And I was like, I can't even laugh right now. And he's like, I think I forgot to eat. I was like, how'd you forget to eat? Didn't eat all day. And I don't even know if he ate it all that day, but I think he did that on a regular basis. I think it's different. Like one of the first things that we come into contact with is people that are like, people that say they don't like to eat. They don't like to eat because they're not hungry. But the first thing when we start working with people is we start to help them have breakfast. Like this is what you can have for breakfast. Even people that don't like to eat in the morning, we share with them like simple things that you can have to get your metabolism going. That's easy to digest, maybe tastes good, for example. That you don't have to, like most people think you have to sit down and have like a 4-course meal for breakfast. I mean, nobody has time for that. I sit down for 20 minutes to have breakfast and tea and I read. Like that's my morning. If someone sits down, like, family members that are like, oh, I don't like to cook, but every time they cook, it takes them 2 hours to create a meal. Like, I wouldn't cook either. So, but I think a lot of people feel that same way, is that if you're going to create a meal, it has to be like this big, lavish meal. And that's why we do meal planning. That's why we have our membership group, to show people that it doesn't have to be this complicated. And you can actually save money doing it at the same time, which is a concept that I think a lot of people are like, they're like, that's not happening. That's not real. And we know people that have saved money and purchased their dream bike, for example, or they've put money into their savings for the first time because they're taking that extra money they're saving and putting it somewhere else. We got Danielle in here. Morning, Danielle. Thanks so much for joining me. And then Vanda says, I get hangry too, Drew. I keep fruit and energy bars in my backpack just in case. That's awesome, Vanda. I am the same way. I always carry food. And I think people think there's something wrong with me. But for me, when I leave the house, I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to be back. So I got to have food just in case. Like every couple hours for me, I got to eat. That works for me. It might not work for you, but I would say that you should at least give it a try to see how your body feels and functions. But so what I'm saying is, like, whatever your body is, let's say right now in your life, maybe you're not happy with where you're at. I know some people that would like to gain some weight, or they want to gain some muscle mass. I know some people that want to drop inches or want to lose some weight. Wherever you are right now in your life, if you don't change anything, it'll stay that way. Without question, I can guarantee you that. So some people are like, oh, I've tried eating multiple times a day. It doesn't work for me. So I say, well, how many times do you eat a day? 2 times, maybe 3. So 2 times with like a little snack. They'll snack on some peanuts, which doesn't count as anything, especially if they're salted. So I could guarantee that individual won't see any changes in their life until they do something different. So if you want, for me, like my favorite quote, hands down, is if you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. So many times people are like, I don't want to eat more times a day. And then I would say, then you don't want to see any changes in your life. Like it's clear. It's very clear, but we have that vision, or we have that line where we can't see through. Like, I want to have a beach body, but I'm not going to the gym. Not going to do it. I don't work out. It doesn't work for me. Then I'm like, then a beach body doesn't work for you. Like, you can't get there without it. If you want to be fit and healthy and you want to gain some muscle, for example, you gotta work out your muscle. Like some people are like, oh, I don't have a very good memory. Like, do you know that you can improve your memory? Like, you can improve your memory. Some people are like, I don't read very well. Well, if you read more often, you will read better. It's called practice. Ask Allen Iverson. Okay, so a couple other things I want to mention here. So for me, like, I think change is a good thing. It really is. A couple things, like, I have exploring mind and body. I'll do this business example for you because some of you are entrepreneurs, some of you are working at home, or some of you have home offices. I want to move this. Some of you have home offices, and for me, like, change is a good thing. So for me, I have exploring mind and body, a nationally syndicated radio show. I've been doing it for almost 10 years now. And I had the same back end I used called Libsyn. It's not very, maybe not interesting to you, but that was my back end. And like, I never really liked uploading stuff. In the past, every once in a while, like, try to find an assistant to help with that. I haven't found like a long-term assistant that wants to work. You know what is funny? Real quick, I find assistants and they do like good work for like a couple months, then they like slowly slowly put time and effort into their work, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're working so well. And then, of course, they lose interest, and because they want to change in their life. They want something different, so they got to move on, which is fine. So at any rate, the back end is called Libsyn, where I upload my radio shows and podcasts, and then that goes out. It automatically gets spit out on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify. So you can listen to the show on different platforms. But I've been using Libsyn for years. And a new company came along. I joined this new podcasting group with Seth Godin, who I love, and they recommended another one called Simplecast. So I was starting a new podcast, which I'm doing. I'm on season 3, episode 20, that got released today. Very cool. I interviewed Mark, and he is training for a marathon in Antarctica, if you can imagine. Crazy. I definitely recommend checking that out. And even though if you're not a runner, just listen and see what other people are doing in their lives. It's really inspiring to be like, oh my gosh, like, someone's going to run on the bottom of the earth, a marathon. That's what you're going to do. So I'm like, man, I don't really want to get up this morning and go through my day. I'm like, well, someone's trained to do that, so I can at least get up out of bed today. So at any rate, so I started using a different back end called Simplecast, and I really enjoy it. Like, it's different vision, like it's a different interface. There's different options. So for me, it gives me a bit of inspiration. It gets me a bit inspired. Like, oh, I want to do this. I want to check out these new features. I want to try to upload this in a different way. And for me, it gives me a bit of new inspiration, and I think I already said vision, but it gives me a new vision to do something or try something a bit different than the same thing I've been doing for years. So I think it's really important to change things up in your life, and if you're not willing to change, like, we don't like that change. We don't like 100% don't like change, and I can say that with a grain of salt because I'm a person that I can't do the same thing for hours. One of our friends, Brenda, she always gives me a hard time because when we weed, like, we have a shared garden in Alberta, and when we're weeding, I weed for like 5 minutes on one row, then I got to go to the other side of the garden, and then I weed on 10 minutes on that row, and then I go somewhere else, and she's like, why don't you just stick on one row? And I'm like, I need some change in my life. So I think it's important. Like, I got to tell you, like, we don't want change, but if you want change in your life, you have to be willing to change in different areas. So very cool. So I have two different back ends of my podcast now. Libsyn, which I've used for years, it doesn't really excite me. It's just kind of boring to me. And now I have Simplecast, and I could move Libsyn to Simplecast, but I want to keep that there right now. At any rate, it gives me a new ambition to do something different. And I think anytime you change things up, you have some new inspiration. So let's say you're doing the same workouts, for example. There's something called muscle memory. So if you're doing biceps, the same weight, the same reps, you're doing bicep curls, which I hope you're not doing anymore, unless you want bigger biceps. Most people go to the gym and just do bicep curls because they don't know how to do anything else. That's why you should hire a coach or a trainer to help you out, at least give you a program. But if you're doing bicep curls, the same weight, the same reps, maybe the same day, there's something called muscle memory. So that means your body's not going to make any changes. So there's actually a real thing. It's called a plateau in the bodybuilding or lifting world. It's called the plateau, the dreaded plateau, I call it, because people, it's like I'm seeing results, I'm lifting more weights, or I'm dropping inches, I'm feeling great. Then all of a sudden they like hit a wall, and no results. They're not dropping, excuse me, they're not dropping any inches. They're not seeing any more results, and it's because they're not changing up their workouts. So of course you have to change up nutrition and workouts, but if you're doing the same workouts, the same time, the same day, the same reps, nothing's going to change. So every once in a while you have to completely flip your routine upside down. You have to, instead of starting with bigger muscle groups, which most people recommend, you start with the smaller muscle groups. Or most people go to bench press because they're like, their muscles are strong, they're feeling good, and they go to bench press. Because if you did all the little muscles first, you'll be tired and not as strong to do the big ones. But of course, if you feel like everyone's watching, you want to stack up your weights. But if you continue to do that time after time, you're not going to continue to see results. And that's why it's important to switch things up. And I think it's important, like, we don't want to change things in our lives. We want to keep it the same. So we don't want to change things up. We want to keep everything the same. But we want to see results. But we want to see results. And I'm telling you, results aren't going to come unless you change things up. So it's a bit challenging in that regard because we don't want to change. So if you guys are enjoying the show, hit that hearts button. I know there's a handful of you guys in here. If you guys have any questions, or if you have anything, you know, what would be interesting to know is, what are you most resistant to change in your life? And it could be anything. It could be workouts. It could be nutrition. It could be your job. A lot of people, it's scary, don't get me wrong, but like, if you lost your job today, what would you do? And I had this conversation with a friend, and they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, what do you want to do in your life? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, have you ever thought of it? But I think in many regards, we never had to think about it. We wake up and we go the same job every day. We drive the same way to work. And I feel like we're just kind of drifting through life. We're not really we're not really living life to the fullest. And I think that if we were more willing to make changes in our life and try new things, we would have a different vision and new perspective. So for example, one of the things, like, we have different goals, like, we're goal setters. I think you're either goal setters or you're not. One of the things was I wanted to teach myself how to skateboard down the Strand. And actually, I talked about this before, but I ended up winning the skateboard. So I finally got the opportunity to teach myself how to skateboard. But then now every time I see a skateboard, I have a different perspective. Like, I have a different vision. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm watching what foot they're standing on the skateboard with, and I'm watching how far their foot is at the front or if it's at the back. Well, you'll notice most of their feet are at the front of the board. So I'm like, oh, I got to put my foot at the front of the board. So instead of just someone just going by and you're like, oh, that's another skateboarder, you actually pay attention differently. You see them from a different light because I've tried it myself and I'm teaching myself. And I think that if you had the opportunity to learn different things as well and try different things and step outside your comfort zone, and it's all about that change, then we would see life from a different lens. Dave says, got to go. See you next week. I'll be home Friday. Oh, sweet. Awesome. All right, Dave. Thanks for joining me. Have a good day. We'll see you next weekend. Look forward to it. Dave and I have been friends for years. He lived here in LA. I lived with his parents in his parents' front house for a while. And he moved away. And now I'm here. It's kind of funny, but he comes and visits every once in a while. So I would like you guys to, I'm going to let you go here right away, but I would like you guys to consider what you can change in your life. It doesn't have to be a big change. Something small. Think of one thing that you can do to make a difference in your life. And if you change one thing, get up. I'm feeling fine. I got this, just woke up this morning, but yesterday I was teaching a fitness class on a microphone, which is kind of cool. And it was like for an hour and I was talking the whole time. So I think that was an issue. And then I'm going back today. At any rate, I think if you guys were to take an action step here and you were to try one thing, what would it be? Like, I would love it if you put in the comments, like, what would you change? It doesn't have to be big. If you get up and you sit in the same chair, like most of us do for breakfast, sit in a different chair. Just try it. Just do it. The problem is, like, we have to exercise that muscle of change. We have to be willing to do something different to get something back in return that's different. So sit in a different chair at the table. You're going to feel uncomfortable for a bit, but you're going to see the room a little bit differently. And then you'll be more willing to change something else in your life. So maybe it's finances, for example. Maybe you spend a bit too much on your credit card, but it has to start small. Like it has to start like park somewhere different when you go to work. Because I know we park in the same spot or the same area. Park completely different, and just try it, because when you do one thing that you're more willing to change, then you're more willing to change more things in your life. And if you want to see more results, you have to continue to change things up. Sue said, I did lose my job. Not that I did not want to work, just couldn't. My plan for retirement also went down the tube. So I started woodworking. Awesome, Sue. Good for you. Like, and I think that's important. Like, different things happen in our lives that we don't expect, and then like we're like blindsided. We're hit like out of nowhere, and we got to make some changes in our life because we're forced to, and we're not used to making changes. So if we all did a better job of trying different things and making changes, transition periods in our lives would be that much easier. I talk to so many people that are like, I'm in between jobs, or I'm in between homes, or we're moving and their life is upside down just because they're not used to making those changes. Morning, Patricia. Patricia says, great job, Drew. Thanks. You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Jennifer says, I work too much, but making a point of scheduling at least 3 things a week, like skiing, yoga, swimming, or just walking. Awesome, Jennifer. Are you doing that now, or that's what you're planning on doing? Yeah, without question. Like, I think it's challenging. Those of us that are workaholics, I don't think it's a whole lot better than those that don't want to work. You know what I mean? Of course, you have to make money to pay your bills, but it's important. It's important to understand that we need that balance as well. And those of us that are workaholics or go, you just run yourself into the ground, which I have issues with as well sometimes. Sue says, get out your oils, Drew. That sounds like you're like my Dorothy reminder. I do have RC. I'm going to get some RC out and rub it on my neck. I really like eucalyptus. I put a couple of drops of eucalyptus in a hot shower in the morning. I love that. If you guys are interested in Complete Truth Protein, this is a great way to get nutrients into your body. Excuse me. This will help you improve digestion, and it will also give you a natural boost of energy. Lost my train of thought there. For example, you can use this in smoothies and baking, but if you're looking for a bit more energy throughout the day, Complete Truth Protein can definitely help you out. And a lot of people have constipation issues, digestion issues, even diarrhea. CTP can definitely make a difference in your life. Sue says, yes, Drew. All right, guys, I got to run. I have an appointment here in a half hour. I'm going to jump on my bike, and I'm going to head over there. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time to come on in here and join me. Okay, I got a couple more comments before I go. Vanda says, I'm thinking of joining some pop-up HIIT classes. Did you launch your new flavor? We did launch our new flavor, Vanda. Yep, absolutely. We haven't launched in our private group right now, so it's still not open to the public because we are waiting for the new supply to come in. So we haven't exactly started advertising for everyone yet because we don't have enough to sell you guys, unfortunately. But we did launch that group, and we only had enough produced for that group, and we are looking forward to producing more of our new CTP flavor coming up here soon. Actually, it should be ready very quickly here. So we just had a lot of other things going on and some changes in our lives as well. So we're definitely getting our new flavor out soon, Vanda. Thanks so much for asking. And Jennifer, one more comment here. Thanks for the hearts, guys, while we're wrapping things up. Jennifer says, doing it now. Like, actually doing it. I'm getting my friends back because I'm getting out. That's amazing, Jennifer. Like, those changes in our life make such a big difference. Like, bringing people back into your life or new people into your life or doing things. Like, that's something that we work on, too. Like, I'm going to Toastmasters groups. So I'm meeting new people, learning new things, learning how to speak better, more clearly, more efficiently. We're going to a running club. We got the running podcast, meeting people around the community. So, yeah, that's awesome, Jennifer. We're on the same page of stepping outside. Like, maybe you're working too much. You step outside your comfort zone and meet some new people. That really makes a big difference as well. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's Friday. Most of us are excited that the weekend is here. I don't love the weekends always, but I had a long week, so I usually take Saturday and relax a bit. I go to yoga class Saturday morning, and then I'm going to relax a bit on Saturday, and then Sunday's usually a full day because I get like agitated from taking a day off, and then I gotta work again on Sunday. But at any rate, thank you guys for joining us. We do have our monthly membership that some of you know about, which is where we do meal planning, recipes, grocery shopping lists, at-home workouts. We teach you how to save money in the kitchen, how to save time at the grocery store, so you can do more things that you enjoy in life. Save money in the grocery store as well, so you can put that money towards things that you actually want to do. So you can shoot us a message if you'd like more details about our monthly membership. Woo! That was a big one. Thank you guys for joining me. It's a bit more challenging when Dorothy's not sitting next to me, but we got it in. Appreciate it. Have a great day, guys.